Hello and welcome back, everyone. This is the first of three videos in our series for Chapter 7 Mutation. So, before this, we talked about when things are going normally, what goes on in our cells, in our nucleus, how it produces proteins. But now, in this chapter, we're going to talk about what if things go wrong. So, in Chapter 7 Mutation, we'll look at just that on different scales. My name is Miss Delia, and if you're ready, let's get started. So chapter 7 is divided into three subtopics, which is 7.1 mutation classifications and types, 7.2 gene mutation, and 7.3 chromosomal mutation. In this video, we'll focus on 7.1, which is a relatively short subtopic, but I hope that you'd be able to remember the points needed in this chapter. Speaking of points you should know, this is the learning outcomes, and this is what we expect you to learn. You should be able to define mutation, classify mutation, state the two types of mutation, and also define something called mutagen and state the two types of mutagens that you should know about. Okay, so let's talk about mutation itself. Usually we think of mutation as something that changes an organism drastically. But as long as there is a permanent change in genetic information or the DNA of an organism, however small, that already classifies as a mutation. Asalkan ada perubahan pada DNA, walaupun kecil, itu sudah dikira sebagai mutation. As long as it's different from the original, it's a mutation. Mutations can occur in any of your cells and organs. So it can occur on your skin, in your brain, in your lungs, in your other cells, in your back. It can occur in any cell. But it can only be passed on to the next generation if it occurs in your gamete cells, which is your sperm or ovum cells, or if it occurs in the cells that give rise to your gametes. So, contoh kalau dalam testis ataupun ovary kamu, berlaku mutation. Okay, sel dalam ovary dengan testis itu akan menjadi sperm ataupun ovum yang sudah mutated. Then in that case, zuriat kamu kemungkinan akan mewarisi mutation yang dihasilkan dalam badan kamu. So it depends, okay? If the mutation occurs in a gamete or in cells that give rise to gametes, it can be passed to the next generation. Okay. When we talk about mutants, okay, we have these kinds of images in popular culture. Dalam kartun, dalam popular media, kita ada gunakan contoh-contoh macam ni untuk perkataan mutant. So, an organism that possesses mutations is called a mutant. Dan ini definisi untuk mutant, organism carrying a mutated gene or carrying a gene that has undergone mutation. This is a term that we use in biology. Okay, use it in biological terms. Kalau kamu sedang buat eksperimen, kamu dapat organism yang carry normal gene dan organism yang carry mutated gene. Then you can call that one a mutant. Let's look at an example of a mutant. So this is Drosophila melanogaster, which is a type of fruit fly. Okay, lalat buah. Dan kamu boleh nampak diagram di sebelah kiri itu adalah fruit fly yang normal. The one on the left is a normal fruit fly with one pair of wings from one thorax. So you could see here, okay, bagian kepala, you have the head, dada ataupun thorax, and abdomen. So one head, one thorax, one abdomen, one pair of wings. Here it has vestigial wings. Okay, tiada macam organ lebihan. Tapi begitu sajalah untuk normal fly. The one on the right is a mutant fly. So you look at this mutant fly. It has a head, but two thorax. Dua thorax, bithorax, and one abdomen. Setiap thorax dia ada satu pasang sayap. So, lalat mutant ini ada dua pasang sayap. Kenapa dia ada dua pasang sayap? Kenapa dia berbeza dengan original fruit fly? Because this one has changes in bithorax, which is a gene that regulates a critical stage of development. Masa dia dalam telur itu, masa dia sedang terbentuk membesar dalam telur, okay, there was mutation in the gene, and the gene causes it to form two thorax instead of one. and it will just have two functional wings. So in this context, we can call that a normal fruit fly and a mutant fruit fly. Although mutant can refer to any organism that is carrying a mutant gene, I have to remind you that when you are referring to people, please do not use the word mutant. Okay? Walaupun ikut sudut biology, memang tepat kalau kita tengok orang yang ada kecacatan dari segi genetik. Dari segi biology, dia adalah mutant. Tapi dari segi adab, okay, please be polite, please be courteous, please think of how other people feel. Don't call a person with disability a mutant. Okay? Kalau orang itu ada Down syndrome, kalau ada penyakit genetik yang apa-apa, jangan panggil dia mutant. Refer to them as people. In experiment, yes. In real life, with other humans, don't call them that. Okay, we are going on to the next point. So now we're talking about mutation. So there's different types and different classes of mutation. We are going to first look at the two types of mutation, which is spontaneous mutation and induced mutation. Okay. Like I said, first type is spontaneous, second type is induced. Spontaneous means it can occur spontaneously, randomly. Secara spontan dia boleh berlaku bila-bila masa. It occurs in natural conditions, they are random and rare events. So examples where spontaneous mutations could occur is because of mistakes in base pairing or arrangement that can happen spontaneously during DNA replication. And also it can occur during gamete formation caused by non-disjunction during meiosis or mitosis. Okay, let's look at that first example. First example, error in DNA replication or lack of DNA repair. So when your body, your cells is doing DNA replication, sometimes it copies it correctly, sometimes it copies incorrectly. Masa kita punya DNA polymerase sedang tambah DNA nucleotide kepada DNA strand yang baru, kadang-kadang dia salah tambah. Okay, dia akan tersalah letak. Sepatutnya thymine, dia terletak guanine. Sepatutnya cytosine, kadang-kadang dia terletak adenine. So, DNA polymerase kita kadang-kadang akan buat silap. Sepatutnya ada enzim lain yang perbetulkan kesilapan dia, tapi kalau enzim itu tiada datang untuk betulkan, there is lack of DNA repair, then your DNA will carry the mutated genes. Okay, dia akan terbawa gene yang tersalah, yang termutate. A second example is non-disjunction during gamete formation. So that is when your body is producing sperm or ovum. It's supposed to undergo meiosis, right? And it's supposed to produce haploid cells. But sometimes you have extra or missing one chromosome in your sperm or ovum. And this is because of the failure of homologous chromosomes or sister chromatids to separate properly during meiosis. Dia tidak terpisah dengan sempurna semasa meiosis. What happens is you will produce abnormal number of chromosomes in gametes that are passed down to zygotes. Okay, gamete kamu akan ada number of chromosome yang salah dan zuriat kamu, okay, the baby, the fetus or whatever will have the abnormal number of chromosomes. Okay, non-disjunction can occur in meiosis 1 or meiosis 2, and we will look at this in more detail in 7.3. All right, so let's get back to the second type of mutation. The second type of mutation is induced. Kalau itu adalah spontan, ini disebabkan oleh sesuatu. So, yang menyebabkan induced mutation adalah benda yang digelar sebagai mutagen. It's induced by mutagen. What is mutagen? Mutagen is a chemical or physical agent that can interact with DNA and cause mutation. And then mutagens, we have physical and chemical mutagens. Okay, ini definisi dia ya, mutagen, chemical or physical agent that interact with DNA and cause mutation. A popular example of mutant in popular media is the Incredible Hulk. So kalau dalam contoh Incredible Hulk, dia adalah seorang scientist, beliau seorang scientist, Bruce Banner. yang terdedah kepada sinaran gamma semasa eksperimen gagal. Okay, there was a failed experiment and he was exposed to a large amount of gamma rays in a short period of time, which mutated him into the Incredible Hulk. So this is more science fiction than fact. Please do not go and shoot yourself with gamma rays. It's not going to turn you into a superhero. It's probably just going to kill you. But that brings us to the question. Okay, ito membawa kepada persoalan. Gamma ray, ini boleh di-classify sebagai physical mutagen ataupun chemical mutagen. So that's a question for you. Is gamma ray a physical or chemical mutagen? The answer is it is a physical mutagen. So there's two types of mutagen, physical and chemical. Examples of physical ones are ultraviolet rays, gamma rays, X-rays, and chemical agents, colchicine, ethidium bromide. Okay, for these agents, in very small amounts and exposed for a very short time, probably will not affect you much. Okay, kalau setakat kamu pergi hospital dan kamu pergi X-ray sekejap saja, itu tidak akan menyebabkan kanser terus. Tapi kalau sepanjang hari kamu berdiri di depan X-ray itu, ya, itu akan menyebabkan mutation dalam badan kamu. So, prolonged exposure and in high amounts are more likely to give you mutations in your cells. So in this diagram here, we have ultraviolet rays causing mutation in a segment of DNA. Ini adalah salah satu contoh. Tidak payah hafal tapi setakat paham sahaja. Ini adalah contoh di mana UV ray menyebabkan thymine yang bersebelahan membentuk thymine dimer. So instead of the thymine forming a hydrogen bond with the adenine that is across from it, it forms double bonds with the thymine next to it. Daripada berpegang tangan dengan yang seberang, dia berpegang tangan dengan satu sama lain. So ini akan menyebabkan masalah semasa DNA replication dan transcription. It will cause problems during DNA replication and also during transcription in protein synthesis. This is an example of physical mutagens. Okay, the example of physical mutagen is colchicine. Colchicine can be used to produce tetraploid plants by poisoning the mitotic spindle. And it can also be used to prevent tumor cells from dividing in certain chemotherapy treatments. So ini adalah contoh chemical mutagen dan kegunaan dia. Just because it's a mutagen doesn't mean it's completely useless and very dangerous. It can be dangerous, but we can also use it for useful things. So this is an example in agriculture. Dalam pertanian, kita boleh gunakan colchicine untuk menyebabkan mutation. Untuk hasilkan buah yang lebih besar. We're going to go into more detail about this in 7.3. But for now, it's enough for me to tell you that colchicine can cause mutation by poisoning the mitotic spindle. Ini adalah mitosis yang biasa. This is a normal mitosis. Okay? It can go wrong by causing the mitotic spindles to fail. Kamu nampak ini mitotic spindle ataupun spindle fiber itu, colchicine akan menyebabkan spindle fiber itu untuk gagal. Dia akan pecah. Jadi, kalau ada colchicine, dia tidak akan mitosis macam ini, dia akan terlebih kromosom di satu sel. Alright, so that is it for types of mutation. Remember, types of mutation are induced or spontaneous. Now we're going to go into the two classes of mutation. The first class of mutation is gene of point mutation. The second class is chromosomal mutation. Gene of point mutation is a change in a gene at a single nucleotide pair of DNA. And we have 4 types of gene of point mutation, which is base substitution, base insertion, base deletion, and base inversion. Ini, kamu akan masuk dalam 7.2. You're going to cover these in 7.2 gene mutation. So we'll learn more about it in detail there. For chromosomal mutation, it is a change in the genes due to alteration of chromosome structure or number. Okay, dia akan memberi efek pada bentuk ataupun bilangan kromosom. And this can be divided into chromosomal aberration or chromosomal structural mutation. Okay, ini adalah dari segi structure. Dan kedua adalah dari segi bilangan kromosom, chromosomal number alteration. Chromosomal aberration can be divided into translocation, deletion, inversion, and duplication, whereas chromosomal number alteration can be divided into two more types, which is aneuploidy and polyploidy. Chromosomal mutation we are going to cover in 7.3. Okay, so that is pretty much it for this video lesson. Remember that mutation has definition. Remember the definition for mutation. Please remember the classes of mutation. Kamu boleh bagikan dia kepada dua kelas, yaitu gene and point ataupun chromosomal mutation. There are two types of mutation. Please remember whether they are spontaneous or induced. And under induced mutation, please remember what is a mutagen, the two types of mutagens, and examples of mutagens. Okay, that is pretty much it. What should you do now? You should please come up with your own notes and try to answer this question in the Chapter 7 tutorial question. Part C, question 1A. It's a very simple question, and I am looking forward to seeing you again in the next lesson. That is all for now. Bye!